Most people just hope their assets will go up, but the real pros, they focus on making their money productive, no matter what the market is doing. I've seen it firsthand with investors at every level. Retail is chasing new highs, while the institutions and the high net worth individuals, they're just printing returns. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact approach that keeps their cash flowing and how you can start making your money work for you too. So the real question we're going to be asking today is, how do you generate cash flow from markets without needing to predict direction? And the answer is actually very simple, because there are only three things that you need. So the first thing you need is an asset that actually moves enough to generate the cash flow that we need. It needs to be volatile, because if it doesn't have meaningful volatility, there's just absolutely nothing to work with. You're forced to rely on leverage just to make small price changes actually matter. And this is where a lot of Forex strategies actually fall down, in my opinion, because Forex markets themselves don't move very much on a percentage basis. So most systems, they try to manufacture returns by just piling on extreme leverage. And it can look impressive when it works, of course, but it also makes the entire approach really fragile. And one bad move, just one unexpected event, and the whole thing can just unravel really quickly. So I prefer to trade Bitcoin because it is actually the opposite. The volatility is already there, everyone knows, and it also trades around the clock. It's also deeply liquid, and it naturally moves enough on a daily and weekly basis to create opportunity without actually forcing anything. So you're not going to need like 50 or 100x leverage just to make the numbers move, which I've seen on some Forex systems. So instead of amplifying tiny price changes, you're simply going to be harvesting the volatility that already exists. And that's what makes Bitcoin such a clean fit for this kind of strategy. It gives you a strong foundation to generate cash flow without turning the system into something brittle or dangerous. And once you start from that foundation, everything else becomes much simpler. The second one is that you need an algorithm to handle entries and exits. So once you have the right asset, the next requirement is a reliable way to decide when to enter and when to actually exit the trades themselves. And this is where most approaches start to really break down, because doing this manually, it doesn't scale and it doesn't remain consistent over the long term. You see, human decision making changes depending on context, market conditions, recent outcomes, and emotional state. These all influence judgment, even when someone believes that they're following rules. And an algorithm, it simply removes that variability by providing structure. And the structure is already pre-programmed in the engineering and the architecture that it was built around. So the entries and exits are defined in advance. They're based on observed market behavior rather than any kind of opinions, narratives, or predictions. And the system is then just going to wait for specific conditions to appear, and then it's only going to act when they do. And if those conditions aren't present, nothing actually happens. And this is why algorithms are so good, because they act when they should and they do nothing when they shouldn't. And as an algorithm becomes more sophisticated, it doesn't just follow a single static rule set either. It actually becomes dynamic, and it adapts to its behavior across different market regimes, from trending, ranging, high volatility, low volatility, without actually having to change that underlying logic that has already been pre-programmed in the code. And this makes risk actually less arbitrary as well, because the key point is that the algorithm isn't trying to guess where the price is going to go next. It isn't forecasting tops or bottoms, and it isn't relying on conviction. It's simply reacting to what the market is doing in real time, according to rules that were engineered ahead of time. That's what's so cool about this. And that's what allows volatility to be converted into those realized gains I was talking about. Not by being right about direction, but by participating systematically when conditions are favorable and stepping aside when they're not. And step 3 is you're going to need automation to actually execute. So the final piece is automation. So even with the right asset and the right logic, execution is where most strategies fail. Again, people hesitate, they second guess, they miss trades, they override exits. Automation removes all of that completely. When the conditions are met, the trade's going to execute. When it's time to exit, it's going to exit. There's no emotion, no delay, no time for interpretation. The system simply does what it was designed to do. And with the technology available to all of us today, it actually all takes place on your very own trading account. And this kind of tech was really only available to Wall Street just a few years ago. And what this adds up to is when you put all these three pieces together, natural volatility, a solid algorithm, and of course automation, what you're really doing is straightforward. You're generating cash flow, not by predicting direction and not by using extreme leverage and not by taking outsized risk, but by systematically turning price movement into realized gains. And this works particularly well for people with larger portfolios because it scales cleanly and doesn't require constant involvement. Capital stays productive instead of sitting idle. And let me just give you a quick example of what this looks like in practice. These are real closed Bitcoin trades generated by the system that we use. And this is realized cash flow. Here you can see 3 separate BTC USDT positions that were open opened, managed, and closed automatically by an algorithm. So one closed for just over $25,500 in realized profit, another closed for just over $62,000, and another closed for roughly $37,900. All three of these were long positions, and all three were fully closed. And all three produced realized gains that could be withdrawn immediately. What matters here isn't the size of any single trade, it's the process behind them. There's no manual timing. And what you can do with these gains is you can pay the bills, you can pay the mortgage, you can pay school fees, you can put them in a cash card and go on a holiday and spend that money on a holiday. This is so fantastic because the whole system requires no emotional decision making, no guessing where the top or the bottom might be. The system is going to handle the entries, the risk, and the exits exactly as designed, and the result will be consistent cash flow extracted from natural volatility. And when you add all those trades together in this particular example, for that 1 month, it was $125,000 generated simply by working the price movement. Again, it took no work from the actual person themselves. And it wasn't done by predicting direction, and it wasn't done by using extreme leverage. And that's the distinction that most people miss, that this isn't about one lucky trade. It's about using and running a repeatable process that turns volatility into income. And this is why this approach works so well for people with larger portfolios, because you're not trying to double an account overnight. You're generating real cash flow that can be paid out, reinvested, or used in the real world. And this is paid out daily, weekly, and monthly, while the system keeps running in the background. So that's what making capital productive actually looks like. So if you want to learn exactly how we built a strategy like this, go watch the video that I made earlier that shows you the process of how I deployed 6 figures into an automated trading system.